top of the meta capital ship. We're confident in saying Leviathan will execute profoundly a new king of fleet battles. Overcome both Executor and Profundity. Make sure you unlock the Fury class Interceptor from Conquest right away. Leviathan will turn the tide of battle with an ultimate that will bring even the strongest fleets crashing down. Those were CG's words exactly. And the fact of the matter is, I don't even care how contrarian you want to be, this is one of the worst releases in Galaxy of Heroes history. As we're going to talk about, this thing is riddled with game-breaking bugs that prevent it from doing its full kit properly. Number 2, there's almost like no damage on the fleet. And number 3, it's being dunked on by nearly every capital ship in the game. Sure, you can kind of beat stuff with it, just like I can beat Gary with the pool noodle as it stands. I don't see the point of this capital ship. And to even make it semi-viable, you gotta use what already Tarkin has been doing. But despite the atrocity of this release, I'm confident that CG is gonna do something to make it better. At the minimum, there are blatant bug issues with this fleet that have to get fixed that might put this at least somewhat competitive then. I want to point out that this isn't just my opinion on this. This is mostly a community-wide opinion with post upon post upon post of people fighting the Leviathan, people using Leviathan, and there is just massive disappointment. For a fleet, let's keep this in mind, for a fleet that requires 2 Relic 9 characters, 2 Conquest units on top of that, this is nowhere near the performance level of even the 4-star Executors, 4-star Profundities. There are a couple of big bugs, firstly, with this fleet, and maybe rectifying this might make this a bit more usable. And I don't know if they're even testing out the game. I'm by no means a talented QA tester that gets paid a salary to do this. I'm not acting like I know how to do this job, but just playing the game as a player, there are just so many things like, did you even play with this ship? You're making all these bold claims. Did you even play with the ship? Ignoring the hilarious bug with the Mark 6 Interceptor being able to insta-kill the opposing capital ship. The developers have at least announced they're going to fix that, but they haven't said anything else. One of the biggest issues that I saw was that the Mark 6 Interceptor, which was really the main highlight, being able to insta-kill when it's called in as a second reinforcement, if you've already seized control of the opponent's capital ship, you don't get the full amount of devouring swarms that you're supposed to get from the reinforcement, because it looks like the game is saying that the capital ship you have isn't a Sith Empire, so it doesn't give it to you. How does that get past quality assurance testing? It almost makes me not want to use the ultimate ability if I can't insta-kill with this thing. Especially in Profundity matches, we're seeing that debuffs just randomly dispel when they shouldn't. Millennium Falcon dispels when you have 3 or more debuffs, but sometimes I just apply 1 debuff and it gets cleansed right away. The fear does not seem to be working properly. The fear is practically useless. I apply fear in the enemy ships, which should be pretty awesome, but it seems like there might be a negative interaction of concussion mines that still allows the enemy ships to take a turn and attack when they have fear. It's also giving ferocity to the enemy fleets. When the enemy reinforces, you're supposed to inflict daze on all enemies. Instead, it seems like at times, Leviathan is dazing its own fleet instead of the enemies. What's up with that? So just right there, not even looking at the actual performance, that is a long list of very powerful bugs working against Leviathan fleet. This was not a polished ship by any stretch of the imagination. Putting all those bugs aside, I think those are all just blatant things that have to get fixed. Regarding my opinion on the rest of the kit, fixing that might just solve a lot of the issues at hand here. So I want to talk about the rest of the kit, and we're going to showcase 4, 5, and 7-star gameplay with this fleet. I want to start off with 4-star gameplay testing. Low-star testing is very important for capital ships because you're going to be sitting at that level for a long time. We're talking months upon months upon months. It's not like a character where you'll quickly get to the star rankings. Not the same with capital ships when you're only getting 10 shards free to play. Just to go from 6 to 7 stars free to play, it's going to take you 10 months if you're only getting 10 drops at a time. And this is a very important metric. Look at the Executor Profundity. They were very usable, and they are still very usable, even at low stars. 4-star Executors can shut down even the most powerful fleets on offense and defense. 4-star Executors can beat 7-star Executors. 4-star Executors can beat 7-star Profundities, and likewise with the Profundities can beat the 7-star Profundities as well as 7-star Executors and be very difficult to beat. And it's more or less you kind of need a high-level counter, just like the 7-star variant. That is not the case with this fleet. Yes, I want to put out there, I have been able to beat, for example, Executors, even at 4 stars. It never felt like an overwhelming win where I could be like, oh, I have so much breathing room, I'm fine. It never felt like that. But yes, I did beat Executor, but also I could beat Executor with a lot of other things that feel a lot better. And against Profundity, this is by far the weakest matchup for the Leviathan, where you're sweating trying to beat Profundities. And when you do win, it doesn't feel like you left in a very good situation. You're always fighting, always going against green, always going up the hill. And it could be because of the variety of bugs that we pointed out, but also one of the problems I'm seeing is a lot of the really big items associated with the Leviathan are really gated behind primarily 7 stars. They didn't really put a lot of the good stuff in the lower tiers. For example, Sabotage the Hangers. One of the coolest things is he's able to kill off immediately the next reinforcement brought onto the field. You can't do that until 7 stars. You're also missing out on a lot of extra capital ship speed reduction, and every little bit of speed you can reduce makes things a lot easier to make sure you're outpacing the Profundities and other ships. Seize the Bridge, the ultimate ability. You're not going to be able to inflict the fear, even though it doesn't really make much of a difference right now. Reset ally cooldowns until you get the 6 and 7 stars respectively. And I want to talk about this ultimate ability. It sounded really cool on paper. The developers made it seem like it's the next step beyond insta-killing a capital ship. With the Executive Profundity, when you hit your ultimate, or the ultimate gets hit on you, you kind of know, yeah, it's game over. With the Leviathan, you don't have that level of comfort. When I hit the ultimate, it's like, I'm not done yet. I got a lot of work ahead of me still. Besides the main bug, where when you get the enemy capital ship, for some reason, it's bugged and it doesn't let the Mark 6 Interceptor get the right amount of devouring swarms to make sure it gets the insta-kill. That's the main big problem right there. I'm sure that'll get fixed. In reality, it doesn't feel as good as the other ultimate abilities. Usually besides Executive Profundity insta-killing a capital ship, you get a big boost of bonuses on your fleet. The other issue is here, taking over the enemy capital ship doesn't really synergize well. It's like, yeah, I can use the opposing capital ship to attack their own ship, but a lot of the capital ships like Executor Profundity have a lot of very specific synergies, like, you know, calling bounty hunters to assist, doing certain things on rebels. It doesn't really help you out when you want to use abilities that are important to really make Profundity's Executor strong. The only time where it kind of feels decent to take over a capital ship is maybe you take over Malevolence, and you can actually start getting vulture droids on the field, perhaps. It would be a little bit more interesting, I think, if you could actually use the opposing ship's ultimate. That might be a little bit more interesting. You have to state it as it is. You can't use the opposing Death Star. You can't tell Profundity, hey, your fridge is running and it'll just run away from battle. It's cool. The animation's really cool. The art team, I think, did a really good job with the look of the ship and how the abilities work of taking over the opposing capital ship. But I guess in practicality, taking over the capital ship just doesn't feel definitive. It doesn't feel like the battle, the tide of the battle is turned. There were even times when I took over the enemy capital ship and I would still lose by a wide margin because I just can't clean up the rest of the rebels. And again, maybe because of those bugs. That's never been the case. When you unleash a Death Star or Profundity Ultimate, you know it's game over. You can basically hit auto and run away. And then when we look at defensive performance, which I've only fought 4 and 6-star Leviathans right now, even though, yes, it's 4 or 6 stars, I'm already predicting to comments, oh, it's only 4 stars. Have you seen 4-star Exec Profundity on defense? They are really difficult to beat. So don't give me the whole argument, this is low stars. Low stars, Profundity and Executive, which again, CG has said, this is supposed to be top of the meta for Leviathan, exceed those ships. The 4-star performance, horrifically bad, where we're seeing things like even Holdo dunking on Leviathan like it's nothing. And especially when Holdo kamikazes herself, doesn't really help out Revan anyways. He doesn't have any capital ship to take over. It feels like practically every capital ship beats this thing. So it's not even coming down to a matter of subjectivity. It's just a matter of, for an overhyped fleet, top of the meta, as they said, it's getting dunked on by pretty much everything. There was a few battles where it kind of felt a little tricky, Malevolence versus them, even finalized, but still, I was even able to eke out wins. Again, driving the point home that this is by no means a top of the meta fleet. Maybe one thing can maybe beat it. Almost everybody, yeah, this feels like a marquee level capital ship. I do want to point out things that I did like about this. There were some things I liked that I'm hoping, again, there's bug fixes, which I fully expect the list of bugs I presented, though since the community did the work for them, it should be easy to figure it out and fix it. The things that I did like about the capital ship is mostly the fleet lineup. It is a fairly durable fleet. We've seen this before with Malgus as well as the Sith Bomber. Very deadly pair that's very durable. I love that the bomber can apply the concussions mine passively, get the daze out there. The healing felt good. The instant kill from the Mark 6 Interceptor, when you can make it work, is pretty much the #1 highlight of this fleet, but you gotta wait 2 reinforcements to use it. Otherwise, it's kind of a short list of the things I liked about the ship, and I would like more if it was actually working properly. And of course, once we even got the 7 stars, if you keep your hand on the wheel, I was able to beat Profundity semi regularly. Again, didn't feel like it was an overwhelming win. On full auto, it would just never win when I could full auto Leviathan with profanities. But I do want to put out there that there are going to be some people that say, oh, it does beat things. That it's almost the same like Jawas can beat stuff. For a ship that was supposed to be top of the meta, and it was being hyped up by the developers, not even the community for several months, it's just in a rough spot. The thing I didn't like about this fleet too, it's that Fury class interceptor, B-20 bomber were great, as well as the Mark 6 interceptor, but I felt like the TIE Dagger, or the TIE Dorito, whatever you want to call it, and the rest of the ships weren't really doing all that much. There just really wasn't any damage being thrown out there. It just feels like we're going to try to survive as long as we can, hit the ultimate, and then we're going to still struggle to win. That's been the philosophy of this fleet so far. So to bring this to a close, I've been seeing a lot of people that were bummed. They're saying, should I stop my farm for Leviathan? In the state it is right now, if it stays this way, I don't see the logic of this ship. At best, if I throw in the TIE Bomber, and if I put in Palpatine's ship, it's basically what we've had before. Why would I want this fleet when I can already beat Profanities for a lot more banners with Tarkins, Executrix with the TIE Bomber and Palpatine, or even heck, the Malevolence with the TIE Bomber? For 2 Relic 9s, 2 Conquest units, it's just not living up to the expectation that the developers said, not even the community. I know Revan always gets hyped, but this is the developers' fault for hyping up the ship, not bug testing, and not even testing out against the other capital ships, it feels like. But I have to believe that the bugs will get fixed. Will that make this better? Yes. I don't know how much better, but it's going to make it better. It might solve all the problems we're having, and it's going to be great. I can't tell until the ship works fully. There might be things the ship needs to be tweaked. We've seen examples in the past. Executor was fairly lackluster-ish when it came out. They fixed it, and then the Executor is what we kind of know today. We've seen, for example, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, something that we hailed to be one of the best galactic legends of the game. He was not that hot when he came out, and he got several buffs because people weren't even using his lead. They were using it with Captain Phasma. So the point I'm getting at for those that are still waiting for the event to end today, and they're like, I don't know if I should push this thing any farther, and for those that are farming it currently and they're wondering if they should stop, I would say it's gonna get better. I just don't know how much better. I have to imagine developers are scrambling to make sure that this ship lives up to the expectations that they set, and that's usually how it's been. The next big capital ship is better than the other ones by some small margin. Is not better than the previous capital ships by any margin. And it's just disappointing. Ships is usually one of the more uninteresting parts for the community in general. Characters are what kind of get the main excitement. Ships sometimes, this was the most excitement I've seen for any ship in the game. Besides even looking at myself where we had a record attendance for a ship-based event in Galaxy of Heroes, which by the way, thank you guys so much for coming out. We had over 7 billion people hanging out with us. And when you tie in the fact that the developers have been hyping this, and then people were making big decisions to push away more important farms, probably like Jabba, maybe even Leia, and spending a lot of their crystals, whether free to play or pay to play, to get ready for this. It's one of the biggest disappointments I've seen, and it's going to go down in Galaxy vs. history as the worst release for a big unit in Galaxy of Heroes history. So that's it for now. I wish I can go in more depth on this ship. Plainly obvious, this ship is not working as intended, but I have hope it's going to get better, and maybe you guys share the same optimism, but there is just simply no excuse. There's no denying. There's no way to spin this in a positive way with the expectations set by the developers, the actual quality of the ship in terms of QA, and the performance of the ship. Low marks in all those regards, but let's see what the future holds for this. Thank you guys so much for stopping by for the stream, today's video. Sorry that it's bad news right now. I hate giving bad news, especially for such a popular character and ship that people wanted to see. But let's see what that future holds. Leave that like, comment down below. Love seeing your thoughts, and make sure you subscribe so you not miss a thing. And always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today.
The sun never sets. We dominate. We're stronger together.